everyone, welcome back to Katarina's Garage. My name is Katarina Lloyd, and today, I'm reviewing this gorgeous 1978 Ford Thunderbird. Now, if you don't know, I really do like these big boats of vehicles. However, I've never actually been able to experience one quite like this. I have had limited experience with driving anything quite this size, unless if it was a pickup truck. However, we're going to go over this vehicle, and then I'm going to take it out for a drive. So, let's show it off. So, this is the, oh god, what is this? The 4th or 5th generation Thunderbird. So, they made these from 1977 until 1979. It is the last of the big body style of Thunderbird, and it's the biggest that they ever got. So, this Thunderbird was the top of the line for Ford. Now, some people say, well, what about Mercury? What about Lincoln? I'm like, no. Top of the line for Ford, particularly. And there's a dog barking in the distance. It's kind of annoying, but that's okay. This car is in really good shape. It's a little dirty at the moment, but yeah, like, honestly, it's just such a lovely, lovely car with the hideaway headlights and everything. And so this body style was made from 1977 to 1979, like I mentioned, and this was the biggest at nearly 18 feet long. It's 17 foot 11 and a half. So yeah. Also, like, the cool thing is these wipers will actually go back down into the hood. I just don't know how they do that, so I don't want to break it or anything like that. But let's check out the inside of this thing. So you can see, you know, the nice green interior with all the power options and everything, and it all works. You know, the cruise control and everything. And if we just take you off the stand here for a second, you know, we can have a look around the car, and it is absolutely gorgeous in here. Tons of room, and honestly, I couldn't ask for a more lovely vehicle to drive. Now, this thing, have I driven it before? Oh yeah, I've actually put a little bit of mileage on this vehicle, but this thing only has the mileage on it of 51,378 kilometers is original. So it's quite low mileage, but you can see it'll fire right up with the 400 cubic inch engine. Actually, before I do that, let's pop the hood, and I'll show you that 400 cubic inch motor that's underneath the hood there. Now this big hood, very simple. It's like just slightly left of center, and boom, you have this engine, and it has just about everything in here new. Now that battery's actually mine. I haven't swapped it out for the battery supposed to be for this, but honestly, this is how you want to see them, you know? Like, there's a new ignition box in there. There's a new carburetor, which I actually helped him install it, but it does need to be tuned a little more. I need to adjust the choke, and the high idle needs to be turned down a bit. The idle would be nice to be turned down as well, but I think the timing has been bumped a bit, because new distributor, new carburetor, newer ignition box, you know? And you can see, 400, the engine displacement, 6.6 liter, 400 cubic inch. This is an engine that only made, I think it was like 57 horsepower or something like that. A bit more than that in torque, but, you know, she's just such a lovely, lovely vehicle. And now, let's go fire her up. So, let's just get you to the back of the vehicle and hear that glorious, glorious sound of the 400 cubic inch V8. Because with the dual exhaust and everything, and it actually does sound really nice, because it has mufflers underneath of it, definitely, when you hear this. But now you can hear that a high idle at about 1,500 RPM right now. It'll rise to about 2,000 RPM. But, you know, it runs pretty good overall. It does have a little bit of issues, but really not too bad at all. But you can kind of hear it missing a little bit. Just a little bit, but it is a little cold though too, so take that with a grain of salt. I literally just grabbed this from my house and drove it over here, and I'm not that far away from my house, so. But yeah. And there is one thing I want to do, because I haven't actually seen this. Let's turn on the headlights here, but I'm going to shut it off. Oh, that is so cool. And then I know that from behind here. Okay, that's what you have to do. Gotcha, it's loose in there. That is so cool. Oh, that's why. Okay. Yeah, so the light switch is a little loose in there. And let's see, are the lights still on? No, they're not. It's just the. Oh, actually, yes, they are on. Hang on. How do I fix that? Are the lights still on? No, there we go. But the headlights, hideaways are still open there. But anyways, let's go take this thing for a cruise. And this car weighs about 4,620 pounds, which is actually lighter than a Hellcat Charger. Going to show you how heavy modern vehicles are getting. There we go. All right, let's get this puppy on the road. That really annoying buzz from the 70s, and even in the 60s I had that, and even into the 80s. But yeah, like, it idles pretty good overall. And, you know, like, now it would be nice if the AC actually worked in this thing, not that I need it today, but, you know, and it only has like minor flaws, whatever else, and yet, you can see, this road is not like super wide, and yet I was able to turn around there, not a problem. This thing actually has a decent turning radius. I swear this thing has a better turning radius than my Fox bodies do. I was going to say a Fox body Mustang, but to be honest, I've got two Fox body Mustangs and a Fox body Capri, so something like this is not quite what I'm used to. I'm used to slow vehicles, absolutely, but big behemoths like this, not really. You know, and this is just like driving a couch down the road. It is so comfortable, it is so smooth, and fuel economy isn't that horrific. You know, you can get, if you just do strictly highway driving, you can get somewhere in the neighborhood of about, I don't know, 400 to 500 kilometers out of this about 75 liter tank. Not too bad for what it is. Now this doesn't have an overdrive, and it does have a really tall gear in the rear. Like, if I had to hazard a guess, I'd say it's about a 223, because going at 100 kilometers an hour down the highway, it is at, with the, on the tachometer, at about 2,100 RPM. So, with the C6 automatic behind it, it is a 1-to-1 gear ratio in third, so, which is interesting because this having a C6, it is essentially this relatively the same, other than just beefed up internals and a slightly different bell housing pattern, if I remember correctly, from a C4 or a C5. They're basically all the same transmission, just with some slight differences between them. But they all use essentially the same case, which is interesting. You know, and that's why, like, so many people will say, like, they rebuilt their C4s into C6s and C5s, or C5s into a C6. Because, like, the only difference between a C4 and a C5 is the, my brain will work here, C4 and a C5 happens to be, that the C5 has a lockup converter on it. There we go. So my brain wasn't working. And this thing actually has pretty good brakes, considering, you know, the technology back at the time, and just having a big old heavy car like this. Honestly, like, I'm a big fan of this vehicle, and I wish it was mine, but it's not. And that guy just ran a stop sign. Good job there, Audi. you know? And the one thing you gotta be a little cautious of, though, is how big the front end actually is. Because I'm used to my car where there's not that much overhang from the front tire to the front of the front bumper. But you don't, as an example, with my car, I could stop after this and still be not within the crosswalk, but with this, you are. It's just welcome to a big old land yacht from the 70s. Now, like I said, this thing runs and drives pretty good. It just needs some minor tuning. Might need a little bit of a timing adjustment, I think, because it idles quite high. And I could not dial down the idle at all without it just like trying to really crap out. But this is running a lot better than when we initially put this carburetor on, because the owner of this car, he's a friend of mine. His name is Mike, and he's not as mechanically inclined when it comes to vehicles. And so, as a result, he paid me to go to Calgary and help him install this brand new Autolite 2100 carburetor, or it might be a 2150. I'm not sure, because the difference between a 2100 and a 2150 is very, very minor. A 2150 is designed for emissions, while a 2100 is not, and this is definitely an emissions vehicle. So, but driving it here, you know, it's nice. But then the only thing is, with it going down the road like this, if it's windy, you'll get blown about a bit. That's just the honest to God truth. It's kind of wayward in that sense, which it sucks that way. And I wish it wasn't, but here we are, right? Welcome to just having a car that's this big. Trucks can have the same issue too, from this time period. But, you know, usually they have like much thicker tires and stuff like that, so it helps them grip down the highway a little better and not get blown about so much. But, you know. But yeah, right now, like, this is Sundre, Alberta, if you're wondering. And I am actually going to take you guys on a lovely, lovely driving road here, because this is where I like to drive any vehicle whatsoever. And you can see I'm up to 80 kilometers an hour right now. There's hardly any noise. There's just a little bit of wind noise coming from this window here. That's it. Now, this car has had over $11,000 put into it. And it shows, because it rides really well. Now, it does need a tire balance as well, so, you know. Look, there's a few things I'm going to address on this thing before it goes up on the market, because this thing will be for sale, if you're wondering. And now, something that's interesting, though, if you're considering something like this for your vehicle, well, what should you actually keep in mind? Well, the fuel economy is not that bad for what it is. So this will get around the same fuel economy as a full-size truck nowadays that doesn't have like cylinder deactivation and stuff like that. You know, if you're looking at, so this thing would get right around 20-ish miles per gallon on the highway, give or take. You know, and it's not that loud. Like, you can hear it. And it's fine, because there's just so much sound deadening and stuff like that in this thing. And it's so light. Like, I mean, pinky power steering, right? And now, like, what I can do, though, is set the cruise control. And boom. Cruise control. Right? It is just so simple. You have all your gauges here. It doesn't have a clock, but I'm not sure how the clock exactly works, because I've tried to set it, but I do wonder if that's more like of a timing clock to where you can, for like rallies and stuff like that. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But it's such a lovely, lovely car to be in, to just experience, right? And now, because I'm used to having like the wipers on a stalk, but they're actually down here. Now, so a vehicle this size can actually be somewhat practical. And here's the thing. You might think, well, no, this is not a practical vehicle. It depends on where you live, what you're doing, all that different stuff. Because a vehicle like this, if you want to go, as an example, you want to go pick up like a bunch of groceries or whatever else like that, it'll fit in the trunk, no problem. This thing has a massive trunk. It's got a massive interior. You can take your pick, and there's a cat over there. But yeah, no. And then, so there's that, right? And does it have crumple zones? No. Does it have airbags? No. It does have a collapsible steering column, so if you crash in this thing, it's not going to impale you with the steering column. So there's that. You know, you got the padded dash, so that'll, you know, not be like a metal thing when you hit it. But other than that, there's not like a ton of safety aspects to this vehicle. It is a lovely vehicle to drive though and whatever else. And the thing is, something like this, like I said, it can be a somewhat practical vehicle. And it's going to be a little bit irrational thinking to a certain degree, but bear with me. Because if you want like a family vehicle or something like that, this is not a horrible choice. Does it get good fuel economy? No. But you'll have the coolest car on the block, and like I said, the size of it, you can fit whatever you want in here. Take your pick. You want to go camping with your family? Well, you can take this camping, no problem. You want to go to a car show and to show it off? That's great too. And the maintenance of this thing will cost you a lot less than a modern vehicle, because maintenance on modern vehicles kills you. The price of parts kills you. On this, you can replace the entire braking system for probably like $500 or $600. You want to do that on a modern Ford? You know, you're looking at probably $2,000 to $3,000 to do that. You want to replace the steering rack in this thing? Well, I mean, that might be actually a little harder to find, but actually I can turn on the defrost. There we go. And I don't need the high fan, and I need to turn on my wipers again, because there we go. And so, like, stuff like that, right? And now, with a vehicle like this, you know, you do have to mind your corners, but if you remember that you can see every corner of the vehicle while you're sitting in here, there's only about that much extra that you got to think about, right? So that's not too bad. And yeah, like honestly, a vehicle like this is just such a lovely car to kind of just like experience and enjoy. You know, you've got just these very, very comfortable seats. It's ultimate luxury. And there's nothing, and I mean nothing, that I would much rather take on like a cross-country road trip or on a long sort of journey, as opposed to something like this. Because here's the thing, these seats are pretty soft. They're wonderful that way. It's a split bench seat, so you can fit 3 people back here, 3 people in the back, you know? And you'd be a little bit of a squeeze because it's not like a super wide vehicle such as like newer trucks or SUVs. So this thing, you can actually park it somewhat decent, and it'll maneuver half reasonable in a parking lot. So, you know, but then you'll see what it can do like here on the highway. Like I said, I'm not going very fast at all. I'm doing 90 kilometers an hour. And you don't have to worry about like hydroplaning and stuff like that if you have the right tires and whatever else, as long as it's not like super wet outside, you're fine. But modern tire technology is so much better than what we had with when this vehicle came out, which is like bias pliers, but they were coming out with radials at the time. And this may have come with radial tires, it just depends. Now, and this T-Bird also has like the sport mirrors on it, so they're a little, you know, smaller and sportier. There we go. Just turning on the lights. Perfect. And there's a lot of little things on this that are functioning off of vacuum. So you do have to beware of some of that, but realistically that's not too bad. Like a lot of the electronics in this vehicle, even though it's power, it's probably through vacuum that all this is functioning. So, you know, as an example, you want to hot rod it, like if you want to put like a big cam or something like that, that's not really the thing to do with this. But, and like, you know, it takes this corner, no problem. There's a good amount of body roll this car has, but, you know, and this road, like, I love, because it just gets really windy like this. You can follow this all the way up to Bearberry, which I might actually do, we'll see. And, you know, like, even in conditions like this, which is not really that bad, but, you know, some people will get worried driving a car like this in this kind of weather, and it's like, yeah, it's fine. You know? You just gotta be a little cautious, just a little bit. But honestly, like, this thing is incredible. drive. I'm a big fan of this vehicle, and like I said, if I could afford it, I would probably end up buying it. But then also, if I could afford it, then I'd be buying that Mark 5 or Mark 7 that I was supposed to buy. But regardless, because big boats like this, I just love them. I've always loved them as a kid, and you know, like. And with gas prices the way they are, you might think of a more economical offering, and that's fair enough. I mean, I did the same thing with my first vehicle. But at the same token, before I bought my Mustang, I almost actually bought a 1979 Mercury Cougar with 302 in it. It'd be the same sort of underpinnings of this vehicle, but with the 302, which it'd be better than the 302 in it, because you can actually extract a little bit more performance out of it, but that's okay. Like this thing with only about 150 horsepower and something like 270 or so torque, you know, it doesn't produce a lot of power, but it moves it along just fine. You know, it's only a 2-barrel carb after all. And it was, you know, kind of smogged down from the factory quite a bit. But honestly, like, this is just such a lovely little car. Okay, so that's what that is, okay? Like I said, I haven't played with all the stuff in this vehicle yet. Like, that's the first time that I actually turned on the headlights was in this video. So, it'll be cool to kind of see that action with the hideaway headlights like that. Yeah. But, and that's something that has gone by the wayside, you know? Hideaway headlights are a thing of the past, you know? And it's sad because they're really cool, right? You get these nice cool lines before that, and then you do the hideaways, and there's like, boom, hey, there you go. You got some lights behind the, you know, behind those doors. It's great. Yeah, and the one thing is, and I should actually message him to see for that, but that's besides the point of this. And just look at how gorgeous this is out there. You know, it's raining. It is just a lovely sight to see down there, and this is actually a reasonably practical vehicle because, as well, like, there's glass all around this vehicle. You know, there isn't really much of a blind spot on this at all. You know, your A-pillars are not that thick, so you can see past them just fine. The mirrors, for me, are like, well, perfect placement. But bear in mind, I'm about 5'10", so this is perfect placement for me. But my dad, driving this vehicle, he'd like the mirrors put up a little further, and he'd like the seat to be moved back a little bit. But he's about 6'2", so a little bit of a difference there, right? There we go. And hey, you know what? Let's just drive this thing all the way out to Mercury there, because I'm not going to turn around here. Let's keep on going. It's only 15K. Why not? You know, and in a car like this, why wouldn't you want to, you know, just cruise it like this and just enjoy the drive? You know, because it's just a lovely bubbly place to be. And because you don't get an opportunity like this so often. And the thing is, a vehicle like this, so you want to get a more modern vehicle than this, and you'd be spending more than what this thing would cost. So this thing, mint condition, is about a $15,000 to $20,000 vehicle. This one is not going to be quite that, because it does have some little, like, that's like a Concord car. This has a little bit of paint chips and a couple of dents in the trim and stuff like that. You could realistically buy something like this for around $7,000 or so, and it's great. So all that to say is that if you're considering one of these, go for it. They're a lovely car. It teaches you independence, because realistically, you don't have to rely on somebody else to work on your car for you. You can just go out and work on your car yourself. Because everything in this, you can take this car apart with basic hand tools for the most part. You know? You want to pull the motor out? I mean, you have to undo the drive shaft and take the transmission bolts out, or take the transmission and motor as one unit, which that's actually easier to do than you would think. Realistically, you can just take all the accessories off and stuff like that, which again is just basic hand tools to do that. It's not not too bad. Just like a couple of line wrenches for your fuel lines, pressure lines and stuff like that, and it's great, you know? It is just an absolutely wonderful thing to experience. And because this is what luxury is supposed to be. Not packed with technology or anything like that, but just a comfortable thing to go down the road. Sure, like you can have, you know, power mirrors, power windows, power locks. This thing doesn't have power mirrors, but it has everything else. And, you know, what else do you really need? You need an infotainment system? You got a phone. You know? You need GPS? Again, you've got a phone. You can just get one of those like dash mounts for your phone that I have got. That's actually what that thing is on right now. And it's holding my phone, recording me going down this road like this. So, yeah, it's just one of these things. And, you know, with the fuel economy, like fuel economy in the city is not going to be good. But again, this is going to have similar fuel economy numbers to like a 90s V8 pickup truck, to be honest. So let's take as an example, my dad owned a 99 Dodge Ram 1500 with a 5-speed manual and a 5.2 liter 318 up front. So that thing got about 15 miles per gallon imperial in the city and about 19-ish on the highway. And this thing will get about the same as that, maybe a little less in the city than that, but it's not too bad. And you know, something like this, like I said, it's such an experience. And automakers refuse to make anything this nice again. Everything now is so cookie cutter. The styling to me is boring. It's very rare that I like look at a modern vehicle and like I snap my head back. But I see something like this going down the road, oh hell yeah. I love the styling of this. You know, and this thing has the aerodynamics of a brick. You know, it's a 0.55 drag coefficient on this vehicle. Like I said, it's not designed for speed at all. And even though the speedometer does go up to 180 kilometers an hour, which is about 110 miles an hour, but would you want to do that in this thing? No, it's a very floaty sort of suspension and stuff. You know, like it's not very awe-inspiring if you take this thing around a corner fast or anything like that, or take it like at a high rate of speed. You could do it, but just bear in mind you should be a really good driver if you're going to do that in a vehicle like this. It's not like your modern vehicles where they have a bunch of nanny aids to, you know, hold your hand. This doesn't have ABS, it doesn't have traction control, it doesn't have stability control, it has none of that. This is just straight up a car. You know, with a carburetor and all. It's even got a column shift. And again, how many vehicles have column shift nowadays? Not very many. And there we go. We have reached Fairbury. I know it's kind of interesting because, you know, in my my Mustang, I can actually reach over and grab that from here, but with this I really can't. And now this is actually the Fairbury saloon here on the right. So I am just going to pull in here. Park it up. There we go. And call this video. So, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please like the video, comment anything you want to see down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as well, if you have a vehicle or a collection of vehicles that I can film / review like this, let me know. Especially, but be in Alberta, please. Because, yeah. Or if you're, close by in, BC or something like that, then I can do a day trip out of it. So, I live out in Sundre, so yeah. Anyways, take care, and I'll catch you next one. Peace out.